This is Gemara Sanhedrin Daf Samach Vav, and all learning should be an incredible schos Rafua Shalima for Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva b'siyata dishmaya. The advancements and the small Rafua should ultimately add up to a large Rafua. And Amir Hashem, Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva should have a Rafua Shalima Gemura b'seich sha'ar Chayle Yisrael. It's rolling on Samachem and Beis. We pulled up about 7 lines from the wide lines. The first one on the line is Amar Lai, as we continue to discuss the Avodah Zarah of Oiv V'Yid Oini. Says the Gemara, Shal Oiv, one who inquires of Oiv, Hainu V'Darish Alamesim, that is, asks the Gemara, the same thing as being Dairish Alamesim. The Torah discusses an Isser to Dairish, ask from the Mesim and have this level of sorcery, of shadim, of demons talk to you. Says the Gemara to be Shail, to ask from this Avodah Zarah called Oiv, sounds like the same thing. Answers the Gemara, Darish Lamesim Kiditanya. As you learned in a Raisa, 5 lines from the wide lines, V'Darish Alamesim, one who seeks out the dead. What does that refer to? One who stars and goes to sleep in the cemetery. Why? The Ruach Tumah should rest upon him. And that's what it means, which is not the same thing as being Shayel al Oif. When Rav Akiva would reach this bus, he would cry. Says Rabbi Akiva, if someone stars himself, and indeed, the Ruach Tumah will rest upon him. Says Rabbi Akiva on the first wide line, someone starves himself, if someone wants tahira, purity, then of course, midatayva meruba, then certainly alachas kama vekama. But says Rabbi Akiva, what should I do? Shavnasim garmu lanu, that our sins have caused us, Shenemar, Kiem Avoneisechem Hayu, Mavdilin, Beinechem, Nabein Elikim, for your sins have separated between yourselves and between your God. The sins have created this divide, and that's why one can no longer have this Ruach Tahira that rests upon him. Amar Rav on the third by line says, Rava Yibot Tzadikei Baru Alma. If the righteous wanted to create the world, create a world, Shenemar, says the pasuk, that we see that it's only caused is the separation due to our Averis. Says the Gemara story. Rava bara Gavra. Rava created a person, tried to commit Rav Zera through the person, sent him to Rav Zera. Rav Zera spoke to it. But this person would not reply. Amar lei, Rav Zera said, are you a creation of one of my friends? Hadar la'afrach, return to your dust. An incredible, fascinating Gemara as we see the Kayach HaTorah of Tanaim HaMarayim able, via the Sefer Yitzir, Rashi says, to literally create people. Rav Chanina, Rav Aishia, Haviyasi Kamali Shabbata, Rav Chanina and Rav Aishia sit together every Erev Shabbos, V'aske B'Sefer Yitzira. Umibrulu Igla Tulsa, a calf of 1/3 age would be created. V'achli le, incredible. Their food of Shabbos was literally created through Kedusha. Tanu Rabbanon, continues the Gemara. Mi'oinein, another form of worship. Reb Shimon Aimer. Zamariv Shiva Mine Zachar Alayin, one who passes 7 kinds of male seed over his eyes. He takes the seed from 7 creations, passes over eyes, and that's how he forms this type of magic. No. And this is referred to a form of magic of one who creates illusions. This is one that can calculate times and hours. Today is auspicious for departure. Tomorrow is auspicious for buying. After Shemitah, the wheat is good. Ikuri kitnius, miyais, rice, uprooting legumes. prevents them from being spoiled. Continues the Gemara. Tanu Rabbanon Minachish Zehoimer. What is Minachish? Pitoy Navla Mipiv. This is the one who says one's bread fell from his mouth. Makla Nafla Miyada, his staff fell from his hand. Benai Kairulai, his son calls to him. Ayrev Meachara from behind. Ayrev Kairulai. A raven calls him Svi. If Sika Baderach, a deer crossed his path. Nachash Mimina Vishul Bismalai, a snake on the right. A snake on the right, yes, and a fox on the left. So says the Gemara, these are all forms of minachesh, that when all these things happen, one feels that these are not auspicious signs, that things could happen to him. We turn over to Samach Vav Amud Aleph, continues the Gemara. Similarly, one says all these auspicious made up Baba Maisas, Al Taschel, Beishachris, don't begin, Al Taschel don't begin tax collection with me. Shachrasu, I'll only pay in the morning. Rosh Chodeshu, Motzei Shabbasu. Says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbana lo sinacha shuv lo soinenu. Says the pasuk, two different isurim kigayin elu amanachashim beicholda ba'ifaisu bedagim. These who, based on the way that the weasel walks, or the birds, or the fish, they decide different omens, different auspicious times. These are all included in literally the psukim in the Torah that forbids all these actions. And with that, we continue with a new Mishnah. The Mishnah, 4 lines down, Samach Vav and Aleph, continues the Mishnah, Mechalel es HaShabbos. Again, we're in the middle of the Mises Bezdin, particularly Skila. If someone desecrates Shabbos, that if he did it on purpose, he'd get kares, valshigasa, and if it's a shegi chatos, then the misa that he is liable is skila, the highest form of misa. Says the Gemara, mechlal diika midi dechil Shabbos have him. Sounds like there's a form of chil, of desecration of Shabbos, that one is not obligated loyal shigasa chatos, v'loyal zedainai kares. Mahi, what is that? Tchumim v'aliba de Rabbi Akiva. This is Tchumim according to Rabbi Akiva. Havara aliba de Rabbi Yasi. These are isurim. However, they do not carry with it the highest level of punishment. Rashi over here. Where is Rashi? Rashi says Tchumim aliba de Rabbi Akiva. The alflu may cry. And Havara aliba de Rabbi Yasi is Damar lelav yatzis. It says that only as a lav, it's not going to have the full-fledged Chiyev Misa. We continue with the next Mishnah. When Rachmana son curses a parent, is not obligated until he curses them with the name of Hashem. If he curses them with one of the kinoi, one of the subordinate names of Hashem, Ramir Machayev, v'chachamim poiter. Says the Gemara, Man Chachamim, who are the Chachamim? Rav Nachman Rav Yosi, Yudetanya. Rav Nachman Rav Yosi, Omer, Pinok Vayishem, teaches Rav Nachman Rav Yosi. Says the Pasuk, Pinok Vayishem, you must, if he blasphemes the name, will be put to death. Matam Aloy, shame. Why does it have to say shame? Megadif, Nokvay is an act of blasphemy. What does that have to say? B'shame. Says, you know why? And sheikali b'shame, only if it has the name of God in there. Taner Rabbani continues, Ish, what does the pasuk say? A man who curses a parent, Ish, l'rabbois, bas, tum. This comes to include a daughter, vas, tumtum, a tumtum, and joining this different simanim covered up or has multiple simanim. Sheikala is aviv esimai, someone who curses a parent, ainli ela aviv yimai. We only learn the full form of kilul, a parent. Aviv shalayim, ima shalavim, and how do we know if the parent that's not married to his mother or vice versa? Says the Gemara, Ta'amlemer aviv imai kilel damav bay. Aviv kilel, imai kilel. Either one, divrei, says the Gemara, Rav Yeshua. Rav Yenesan Oimer, says Rav Yenesan, mashma shneim ke'echad, mashma echad, bifnei atzmai. It implies both of them together and one by himself, until shevar l'cha akasav yachtav, until the Torah puts them together. Says the Gemara. What does Moshe must teach us? At the end of the narrow lines, biskila, biskila, and elabachs mikolam misaburs b'Torah. Explains the Gemara 3 lines from the white lines. Nemer kan dam of baiv, nemer halan. It says above the meyam bam. Malhalan biskila avkan biskila. Oine shamanu azar minay. How do we know the warning? Tamalay mar. Elokim lo yisikalel v'gomer. My aviv v'dayon. Harei b'chal elokim lo yisikalel. Says the Gemara that if one's father is a dayon, then he's included in Elokim lo yisikalel, that he should not curse a judge. And my aviv nasi, then what? Harei b'chlav v'nasi b'amcha lo yisar. Says the Gemara, where do we know that even a regular Joe, one whose father or father is not an ayin and not a nasi, how do we know he's still included? Minayin, says the Gemara, Amrit. Will he respond on the third Y line? Hareyat Adan, Binyan Av Mishtem. We learn a Binyan Av, a method of limud, connecting the two things together. Loiri nasi kiridayim, loiri dayin. Excuse me, highlighting issues, excuse me. Lo kridayin, lo kridayin kri nasi. Lo ridayin kri nasi, that what? Shrei dayin at the mitzav el rasai. Dayin, you're commanded on its teachings, his rulings, kri nasi, she at the mitzav el rasai. But on the flip side, lo rinasi kri dayin, she nasi at the mitzav el marasai. Kirai, dayin, she at the mitzav el marasai. It says Gemara, each one has a level of chumrah. Hamrasa is those rebelling against him. Says the Gemara, Tzadashavah is what? Be'amcha, v'atamuzra al kulasa, and afani avi avicha shebe'amcha, v'atamuzra al kulasa, the same warning will apply to curse him. Ask the Gemara, but wait, the classical kasha, malas Tzadashavah shekin gedolasa and garmu lahen. But what do you mean the Tzadashavah has that they're godless, the fact that they're so exalted? That's the reason. Ta'amalai mar loisik alel, Cherish. The humble ones of your nation, even the regular people, even those who are not dayanim and nasiim, the pasuk is discussing. Says, wait, malach cherish kin charishasa garmuloi. A cherish, a deaf person, the deafness caused him that he shouldn't get this curse. Nasi v'dayin yichichu. Malach nasi v'dayin shekin gilasa garmuloi. Cherish yichichu. They're all part of Klal Yisrael. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Says the Gemara, what do we do with the fact that the Sadashavah is mishunin, is different? It's not talking about regular people. It's talking about someone who's deaf, someone who's not a regular classical guy. Elim Kain says Gemara Nichtaiv. Elim Kain Nichtav Krav. Not for that to his pasuk. Oy Elikim v'chiresh Nasi v'chiresh Elikim lamali. I mean Eligufa Tanei Aviv. So therefore we have an extra word to put on for the father. Say Gemara, wait. This is good if you hold the word Elikim over here is secular. It does not refer to Elohim, but rather refers to Elohim. It does not refer to God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but rather refers to Elohim, a judge. Elaman Damar Tzmachlek is Kodesh. Michael, what are you going to say? The Tani Elikim B'chol Divi Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Kiva Oimer. Elikim Kodesh. V'Tani Rabbi Elazar ben Yankov Oimer. Asar l'Mavarich is Hashem Minayin Tam l'Amer Elikim Loisik Alel. Elaman Damar Elikim Chol Gomer Kodesh Michol. It's all good. Elaman Damar Elikim Kodesh. Kamina Chol Mi Kodesh. So Besh Elaman Damar Elikim Chol Gomer Kodesh Michol. Elaman Damar Elikim Kodesh. Gamar Chol Mi Kodesh. Says the Gemara Dilma Kodesh as here Achol Lo Yazer. Maybe in a Chanami suggests the Gemara at the end of Samach Vav and Aleph. Maybe the Isser is only on cursing someone Kodesh, but not referring to cursing the Chol, the Dayan. Says Remkin Lechtov Kral Lo Yisakel. Pasha said Lo Yisakel. My Lo Yisakel is return over to Samach Vav and Beis. Says the Gemara Shema Mina Tarti. From there, we pick up with a new Mishnah on the very top of Samach Vav Amid Beis. Says the Mishnah, Abal Naira Murasa. Someone who sleeps together with a girl, a woman that is already did Iris and betrothed, Eno Chayev Ashi Naira, Besula Meurasa, only Chiyamisa, if this girl is a Besula, she still is a virgin. Vihi Bebesa, Vian, still in her father's household. Paula Shnaim Arishanim Beskila. If two people were together with the Naira Hamurasa, so the first was that sleeps with her is now together with a Naira Hamurasa and a Besula, so you get skila. But if a person subsequently is with this girl, then there'll be no longer skila because she's no longer a Besula, and at that point there will only be chanik. Says the Gemara Tanura Abanan, where do we learn this all out from? Naira v'lei b'garis, Besula v'lei b'ula. Muras avlei nesua, bebeis avia bra l'mashes av l'shluchei abal. The father gave her over to the husband. If she's ready on the way to the husband, ready in his house, then this din will not apply. Says the Gemara 10 lines down. The first one is Abalam Rabbi Yudah Merav Zudiv Rabbi Meir. V'chachamim ayrim naim rasa. That what? Afilu kitana b'mashma. No. Even a ketana will have the same punishment. Amalei Ravacha, mi defdi Ravina. Wait, mi mai b'deitan Ramei l'mute ketana nami l'man damar l'mute ketana nami damar Rabbanani l'mute b'gares esulai. Maybe in the Rabbanim we're being mamayit the b'gares. Says the Gemara, Amar lei, no. Hi, einay chayv asher naira bisula meurasa. It says the words show us what it means. If the Mishnah is only come to exclude her by Geres, should have said till she's a Naira Bisula who's Marasa. The fact that it says Naira Murasa, therefore it shows us that's not talking about a Kitana. Ask the Bisula Midi. Ask the Gemara Abayi Mine, we're smack in middle of Samavav and Abayz. The first one line is Mine. Rav Yaakov or Adami Rav. Baal a Katana Murasa. Someone is together with a Katana who already had Erisin. L'Rameir Mau. L'Gamri Mimayle is completely excluded. Or Miskila Mimayle. Maybe just she doesn't get, maybe just the punishment is not Skila, but of course, still the same is. So Daraisa. Amar Le says Rava Mistavra. That one Miskila Mimayle. It's Stavra that it's excluded from Skila. Says Mar, wait, Voksev Mesugam Shneim. Achishneim Shamzil are both equal. Shasik, he was quiet. Amar Shmuel says, Shmuel, I'll tell you what Rav meant. My time was Shasik. Rav, the name Alei, he could have answered, Umesa ish asher shachav ima livadoi. The one who lies with her dies by itself. The Pasuk teaches us that when one of them is a katana, then that person is not chayiv misa. Says the Gemara, indeed, ketanoi. That aforementioned discussion is a machlekes tanayim umesu gam shneim. Says the pasuk they both should die at shneim shav until they're both equal. Divrei Rabbi Yahish. Rabbi Yonasan never know. Mesei sheshachav ima levadai vedach ayu mesei gam shneim. My darsha would use that pasuk. Amarav lemutei ma'isa chidudim comes to exclude an act of stimulation of chidudim. That such an act might be aser. That if the man stimulates himself against the woman's body, but it's not a full ma'isa tashmish, then there will be no chiyav misa ve'edach. What does Rabbi Yeshua say? Ma'isa chidudim lav klumu. There's no, it's not such an issa daraisa ve'edach. Hay levadim me'darshi be'edach danya. Po ala asar b'nei adam adayni b'sula. 10 people are with her, and she's still a b'sula. Says the Gemara, kulam b'skila. They all get skila. Rabbi Yomer Arisha b'skila. The kulan bechenek. Says Rabbi, no, the first one gets skila, one gets chenek. She's no longer a besula. Pick it up from here. B'siyata dishmaya.